Back to Just a Guy Reviews. I'm Matt Sula, and today I'll be giving you my top 10 movies of 2023. Now, a little caveat, I have not seen all the top movies that came out. I have not seen Poor Things, just hasn't played anywhere near me. I have not seen Anatomy of a Fall. There are a couple others that I haven't seen, but those are the big two that I haven't gotten around to. I haven't seen John Wick 4 because I haven't seen John Wick 1, 2, or 3. So these are just some movies that will not be on my list. Maybe after I see them in the future, my list will adjust, but as of right now, these are my top 10 of 2023. Number 10 on my list is going to be the Hulu original horror movie, No One Will Save You. This is a alien invasion movie starring Caitlin Dever. Not a lot of words being spoken in this movie. I think Caitlin Dever maybe says like anywhere from 1 to 5 words. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes long. It's edge of your seat action the entire time. One of the greatest things about this movie is that it basically came out of nowhere. I didn't see a single trailer for it. Hulu basically just put it on their platform, and then just word of mouth. I started seeing it on Twitter, people being like, this is the best movie you're going to watch this week, this and that. I was finally sat down, turned it on, and I couldn't have been more happy with it. I love Caitlin Dever. You might know her from Dope Sick, Last Man Standing, what's the other one? Booksmart. She's a great actress. I really enjoy her. She's going to be Abby in the upcoming season 2 of Last of Us. I think she did an exceptional job here. Basically, a full acting performance of body language, facial expressions. Like, again, she spoke like one word basically the entire movie, and the rest of it is her battling, not really battling, but basically running from this alien invasion and trying to figure out how to stop it. There's a other nice little, like, she's basically an outlaw or exile from the rest of the town that she lives in. It's such a great movie. It's, again, hour 20 minutes. If you just want a quick little horror movie to get the blood pumping, I couldn't recommend this movie more. That's number 10 on my list. No One Will Save You. 9 is going to be Greta Gerwig's Barbie, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. I have to really give it to Greta Gerwig here. She directed her ass off, and this is one of those movies that, like, everyone knew was going to be a blockbuster hit, which makes it so much more impressive with the fact that Margot Robbie came in. She was like, no, I'm going to give one of the better performances of the year. Her performance was amazing. The range that she showed, the emotions, the humor, and everything in between. She was so good in this movie. There was no better person to play Barbie. I know it was originally supposed to be Amy Schumer. What a fucking disaster that would have been. Thank God they went with Margot Robbie. Thank God they got Ryan Gosling on board too. This man's the best. He's so funny. He's like he's if you just like close your eyes and picture a movie star, that's Ryan Gosling. On top of being an amazing actor, everything that he does in this movie is flawless. The only things I will say that I didn't like about this movie was anytime Will Ferrell and his cronies were on screen. It's like the board of Mattel. I didn't find any of that to be all that funny. The rest of the movie, great message, great women movie. I can't speak much on that. I'm a white male, so I'm just not even going to touch that. But this movie was, for me, for the most part, was just a great blockbuster, a great comedy movie. Really enjoyed my entire time at the theater that I saw this. It was such an event. It was one of the most full I've seen a movie theater this year. Really great time. Number 9 is Barbie. Number 8 is going to be the A24 movie, Talk to Me. The best pure horror movie that was made this year. It's about this ceramic hand that basically allows you to see the dead. A bunch of teenagers are bringing out at a party and filming each other, seeing what happens. It is one of the more disturbing movies this year in the horror aspect of things. I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite things about it was that when they told like the outside world about, or the kids like being like, oh, this is a possessed object, everyone would just rolled with it. They were like, yeah, no one was like, oh, what are you talking about? That's not true. This and that. You guys are insane. Like, everybody just bought into the fact that, yeah, this thing is possessed. This thing is bringing out demons. Everyone just got it. The visuals were fantastic. The brutal scenes were truly brutal. I think it's going to have a lot of staying power too. It's one of the better horror movies of the last 5 years. Easily the best of this year. I highly recommend this one as well. Talk to Me is my number 8. 7, another A24 movie. My number 7 is going to be The Ironclaw. This is a story about the 1970s, 80s wrestling family, the Von Erichs. I'm a big professional wrestling fan. I knew of the Von Erichs. I had no idea about this story. This is one of the most tragic, true story movies I've ever seen. I mean, shit. Early in the movie, they basically say, Zac Efron says, who, by the way, amazing Zac Efron performance. If he wasn't Zac Efron and he had a little more of these kind of roles under his belt, I think he'd easily be nominated for Best Actor this year. I think he's just going to miss out just because people say it's Zac Efron. Like, what? Are we really going to take him seriously? The guy from High School Musical? I digest. But uh, the story behind it, or like, there was this always the Von Erich curse, which um, Zac Efron, who played, I believe, Kevin Von Erich, he brings it up. He's like, I don't believe in it. And shit just keeps happening to his family, like one after another. I don't want to spoil anything, even though it's a true story. But I highly recommend you see this movie. If you need a good cry, watch this movie. It's a truly devastating. Like, once the first thing happens, you go, oh shit, is this really how it's going to go? And it just keeps going. It keeps going. It has honestly my first or second favorite scene of the year. Um, my favorite acting scene of the year, I should say, because there is a scene in a movie coming up that is just, it brought just a giant smile to my face. But it had my favorite acting scene, hit me right in the heart. I started tearing up. I was like, this is what you do. And it was something that shouldn't have worked at all. It shouldn't have worked at all. And once it happened, you're like, what's going on? What? And then it happens, you go, oh, and you just want to start bawling. Again, I'm a big professional wrestling fan. This is why this movie really hit home for me. I loved all the professional wrestling scenes. They had a guy play Ric Flair who, I mean, you can go back and watch Ric Flair videos on YouTube for hours. It doesn't quite hit the same. No one's ever going to be the Nature Boy. No one's ever going to have the same charisma as him. He's probably top 5 most charismatic guys who have ever lived. But yeah, you need a good cry. You throw on the Ironclaw. You watch Zac Efron give a performance you didn't know he had in him. Jeremy Allen White is so incredible, along with all the other actors and actresses in this movie. They are absolutely incredible. The Ironclaw is my number 7. Number 6 is another surprise that came out of nowhere. Is May December, Netflix original movie starring Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore, along with newcomer Chris Melton, who absolutely steals the show. I mean, Natalie Portman and Julianne do a good job. They're both fantastic actresses, but the subtle performances that Charles Melton is doing in this movie, like, the more you watch it, the more you're just like, holy shit, this is awful. This is tragic. Like, it's awful from the beginning when you find out that the story is basically about Natalie Portman plays an actress who's going to study this woman who in the past was, I believe, like 32, and she starts dating a 16-year-old. And they end up staying together. They get married. They have kids. But Natalie Portman keeps she's poking like little holes at when she's asking questions, studying for this role. And when she's talking to Charles Melton's character the whole time, like, he's just like slowly realizing like truly how fucked up this whole situation is. Like, he starts thinking, wow, have I been being manipulated since I was a child? Is this really what my life is? Like, all that you're watching him slowly realize it till he finally breaks down. And Julianne Moore, like, you don't know the whole time. It goes back and forth. Is she this like manipulator? Is she just a woman who's in love? And then like the last couple minutes of the movie, like you see something in her and you just go, wow, she is she's a monster. Like it's such a subtle like monster movie. Basically, like this person is slowly destroying the things in front of her, and she knows it, and she just doesn't care because she's an absolute egomaniac. Another heartbreaking movie, but a lot more subtle than the Iron Claw. I highly recommend May December. Some of the best acting of the year. May December is my number six. Getting into the top five movies of the year for me. Number five, Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, one of his masterpieces, Killers of the Flower Moon. 3.5 hours long. I understand how that turns a lot of people off, but this movie is truly incredible. A really like untold important story in American history. Basically, is shows the events that lead to the creation of the FBI, and stars Leonardo DiCaprio, um, what the fuck's his name, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, who is going to win Best Actress this year. Um, her first 2 hours of the movie, you're like, I don't really get what the hype is around this performance. I mean, she's good, but she that good? And then in the last hour and a half hour, she gets sick, and the body acting that she's able to do in acting like this sick woman is so good. It looks so challenging. It's so incredible, and it's such a different performance from Leo too. He's not this like bombastic, like he doesn't have that giant monologue. He doesn't have this. He plays like a stupid southerner, and he's Leo. He nails it. But I as great as Lily Gladstone was, and she is going to win Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress. I believe Best Actress because she's in a large portion of the movie. Robert De Niro is incredible. It's his best performance probably since Silver Linings Playbook, I think. Maybe even before that. I came out of this movie going, holy shit, De Niro. He's one of the best of all time. He's so good. Everything he does in this movie, like, he does such a good job of, he's a monster the entire time, but he's always just like, no, I love the Osage people. I'm their friend. They do this, I do that. He's amazing in this movie. I don't know if a lot of people have the capacity to sit down for 3.5 hours and watch this movie. If you got to break it up into two parts, by all means, I think it's going to really take away from the enjoyment of this movie. But you gotta watch this movie. It's so good. It's Martin Scorsese. I mean, it's not Goodfellas. It's not The Departed. There's not an ounce of fun in this movie that everyone loves Scorsese for. It's a completely different thing that he's doing here. It's more along the lines of like Silence or movies like that. But it's truly a masterpiece. Killers of the Flower Moon is my number five. Number four, another historical epic, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. This movie's going to win everything at the Oscars. It's going to win Best Director, as it should. I'm a giant Christopher Nolan fan. This within 3 minutes of the movie, I turned to my girlfriend in the theater and went, "This is the most Christopher Nolan thing I've ever seen," and it's incredible. He's gonna win Best Director. It's gonna win Best Picture. Cillian Murphy's gonna win Best Actor. RDJ is gonna win Best Supporting Actor. It's gonna win so many things under the line. This movie's amazing. I mean, it's 3 hours. It does not once feel like it's 3 hours. It has that like, it's not Hans Zimmer who does the score, but the score is very Nolan-y, and it's there the entire time. It's basically 3 hours of score in the background that's keeping you going like, oh, I need to pay attention. I mean, the scene where they do the test for the bomb is edge of your seat good. It's probably the third best scene of the year for me. Third best scene of the year. It's probably scene of the year to everybody. Like, if you want to do like just the best scene that was shot this year, it's this scene. But I mean, just like what went behind it and everything. It's so good. This whole movie's incredible. Everyone did their job. Florence Pugh, amazing as always. Emily Blunt was just incredible in her short time. I know people like to bash on Christopher Nolan and this movie for the lack of female characters in it, but I mean, it's 1940 something most of the time, 1930 something. Like it is what it is. But you can't deny just how good this movie was. I mean, I can't wait for it's got to have some kind of anniversary in the future. I can't wait to see it again in theaters. I want to watch it at home again, but I know it's not gonna live up to the same thing. Uh, Unless I like hook it up to my speakers and get a what's it called, thing that makes this thing shake. Whatever. This movie's incredible. Everyone did their job. It's gonna win everything at the Oscars. It is my number four just because of my own personal taste, but I would recommend this movie to just about everybody. Oppenheimer's my number four. Number three movie of the year, I wouldn't recommend to a soul. I tell people to watch it, but I tell them at the same time, you're going to hate this movie. You're either going to hate or love this movie. I love this movie. Beau is Afraid from Ari Aster starring Joaquin Phoenix. I love Joaquin Phoenix. I love Ari Aster. Ari Aster, director of Hereditary and Midsummer. Midsummer is one of my favorite movies of all time. Joaquin Phoenix is probably, as of right now, my favorite actor ever, especially right now. I mean, it's a little hard to top like Pacino for me or Jack Nicholson, even De Niro, but as of today, it's Joaquin Phoenix. He's so goddamn good in everything he does. This movie's weird. This movie's really weird. It's basically an Odyssey. It's a story of the Odyssey about this guy with tremendous mental issues. Like he's got anxiety out the ass. He's got paranoia. He's got everything. I mean, the movie starts off. He's at his therapist, and he's going to visit his mother, who he believes has died. Um, I don't remember if it's hard to know because I don't want to say that this movie. It's kind of like everything that happened is a dream, except everything that happened is from the perspective of a heavily medicated person who is basically having a nervous breakdown for 3 hours on screen. The movie basically starts with this therapist gives him some medicine, says, you need to take this with water. Do not take this medicine without taking water with it. And he, he pops the pill, he goes to the sink, water doesn't turn on, he gets a little spook, he accidentally swallows the pills, and now he's got to struggle to find water. And he's got to get across the street in this like New York City town where there's just like a naked guy stabbing people on the street. There's fires going on. He's trying to get across the street to buy some water. And then everything just goes to hell. It's so much fun. It's 3 hours long. I saw this movie on my birthday this year. It was one of the most fun I've ever had at a theater. I thought this movie was so great, but it's not for everyone. Another movie I went to see with my girlfriend, she hated it. She thought it was like one of the worst things she's ever seen. I thought it was so good. It's my number three of the year. Beau was Afraid. My number two for the year is going to be the Japanese animated movie that technically here says 2022, but I think its release date in the US was 2023, so I'm counting it here, Suzume. Um, I did watch this movie a while ago, but it has stuck with me so hard. I just need to read the description here real quick. Suzume, 17, lost her mother as a little girl. On her way to school, she meets a mysterious young man, but her curiosity unleashes a calamity that endangers the entire population of Japan, so Suzume embarks on a journey to set things right. This movie, like, another gut punch of sadness, but also, like, joy when you finally get to the climax. Like, it. I know a lot of people have a hard time with, like, watching animated movies, especially that aren't for kids. Like, it's not like you go into it expecting a Toy Story where you know it's for kids, but it has some adult themes. Like, this movie is pretty much made for adults. It tackles some heavy stuff while also being ridiculous at the same time. I mean, it's made by a Makoto Shinkai. I'm sorry, I'm gonna fuck that up. But he also made another movie that's one of my favorites of all time, In Your Name. He these kind of these are the kind of stories that you can't tell with live action. There's a little bit of ridiculousness to them that you can only do with animation. But and it's just but the story is like undeniable. You watch it and you go, holy shit, that is a great way to look at that. There's no other way you could have told this story. It's so good. You really like you need to get past the fact that it's a animated movie in Japanese. I'm sure you can find uh, a dub version where it's in English, but to me, I think that diminishes it a little bit. This movie really is so good. I highly recommend anyone watch it. It's very emotional. There's a man who gets turned into a chair with three legs. It's very funny. Well, that aspect's funny. Like it's a pretty devastating story once you get to like realizing what's actually going on and like one of the stories that it's telling. Couldn't recommend this movie more. Suzume is my number two. My number one movie of the year. If you've seen the videos that I've made in the past, the way that I talked about this movie is the way I'm going to talk about it now. It's Godzilla Minus One. I'm a massive Godzilla fan. I have the poster over here for Godzilla versus Kong. A movie that I love. It doesn't hold a candle to Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is a devastating story of the effects of World War II on Japan. Like it shows it shows the relationship between like the kamikaze pilots who refused to do it because they were afraid to die with the rest of the population. It shows what the Japanese people thought of the Japanese government during the war. And then this fucking giant lizard comes out of the water and just destroys it again. That's why it's called Godzilla Minus One. Basically, after the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, they were like, this is as low as it gets. This is zero. And then here comes this lizard to just destroy us again. Minus one. How could it get worse than zero? You go to the negatives. It has my favorite scene of the year, which is when Godzilla is going through the town and he does his atomic breath, and it's just this nuclear bomb. It's the most devastating since Shin Godzilla, probably, which is another like devastating movie. This is another movie. It's two Japanese movies in a row in my top two, but it's just so incredible. Like it's a war movie while also being a monster movie, while also being so much drama but action. It's the best combination of everything you want, or at least I want in a movie. Like again, I a big Godzilla fan, but also you can tell by some of the other movies on my list, I just love human drama. And when you can put them together seamlessly, perfectly, you're gonna get it from me. This is one of the only movies, I think, out of the like 1,300 movies that I've seen in my life, I've given like 21 5 out of 5 stars, and this is one of them. I think this is a perfect movie. It's not going to be in theaters for much longer. It was supposed to be in theaters for a week or two in America, and they just keep extending it because people keep going to see it because the word of mouth is so good. This movie is incredible. It's not Godzilla versus Kong. It's not the other Godzilla movies that were made in America, like the 1998 disaster. This is a real fucking movie that just happens to be starring Godzilla. It's so good. I recommend everyone see it. It's the best movie I saw this year, like bar none. There's even some word that it might be nominated for Best Picture. It'll never win. It'll never win just because it's a monster movie. But goddamn, this is the best movie I saw this year. My number one is going to be Godzilla Minus One. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to let me know in the comments what your top 10 movies of 2023 were, as well as what you think I got right and what you think I got wrong. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Will really help out a lot. I'm going to be looking to doing a bottom 5 of 2023 as well. Don't want to do bottom 10 because don't want to get too much into the negative about those movies. 5 is enough for how terrible these specific 5 have been. But thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.